So, we are now going to write down the matrix form from the Galerkin form that we have just looked at. I will take the liberty of just glossing over it and not giving you the details which we went through in great detail for the steady state part. So, I will only highlight what are the unsteady, the differences because of the unsteady part. So, first we will express VH and GH and in terms of the basis functions. So, let me recollect for you the finite element functions or the basis functions are NB and they are functions of x, and B goes, it belongs to a set which is eta minus eta g. So, eta is the set of all nodes and eta g is the set of nodes lying on gamma g. And by definition, this cannot be a null set. There have to be some nodes which belong to eta g. Let me recollect for you that we could have a boundary gamma. So, the entire boundary could be gamma g and there may not be a component of gamma h, but the reverse is not allowed. We must have at least some Dirichlet boundary condition for the problem to be well posed. So, these are the basis functions and we are going to write down VH as a function of x and time in the following manner. So, we will say that B belongs to the set eta minus eta g and these are given as NB as a function of x, but the coefficients are functions of time. So, it is using the same logic that I gave you about expressing a time dependent function as Fourier series at every time instant, and thereby the coefficients could become time dependent. What about g? So, these are also going to be time dependent, and now I am going to introduce additional functions which are actually defined on eta g. So, these would be B belonging to eta g and I would write them as NB of x times g of B at t. So, these are additional functions and we have seen them before. We saw them in one dimension, we also saw them in multi dimensions. The idea is exactly the same. The only thing different is this concept of these coefficients which now depend on time. The WH, mind you, only depend on x. They are not time dependent and therefore representing them is very straightforward. So, we would have A belonging to the set eta minus eta g and these would depend on the basis functions Na which are functions of x, and then we would have CAs. CAs need not be function of time because there is no time dependence. Okay. So, I hope the layout is very clear that we are going to have the weight functions which are not time dependent. The solution of course is time dependent and we have split it into two parts V and G, and each of them are constructed using the basis functions which are steady but now the coefficients are unsteady. The rest actually is very trivial. So, we take the Galerkin form and we plug this kind of a definition into the Galerkin form and then work out all the terms. So, I am going to skip all that, and so we will just summarize the following. So, plug for WH, VH and GH in the Galerkin form and use the same arguments that we have used before to get the final matrix form. So, I am going to give you the final form, and please you can work it out yourself. So, the matrix form would look something like this. Given f, which is defined on the interval 0 to t, which is actually a real valued function, but any q of them. So, this is a vector. I am supposed to find the vector d, which is again 0 to t, and this is any q dimensioned vector. So, there are scalars, any q scalars that form this vector d, such that I will have to solve m d dot plus k d equal to f, and t belongs to 0 to t, and of course, I will have d 0 equal to d 0. So, this is my matrix form. Okay. When I had a steady state problem, the steady state heat conduction, so I was only dealing with K d equal to F, and of course, there was no initial condition. Now, with the advent of the unsteady term, I have this additional m d dot, and of course, I have also an initial condition. Okay. So, these are now a set of ODEs that I must solve, and if I solve them, then I would at each time instant get the vector d, this vector, and I can go back and plug the d into my v and get my solution. Okay. So, this is how it would work. I first solve the matrix form and solve for the vector d, plug that using these basis function into this expression, and then compute the solution field at every time and space where I want. Let us talk a little bit about these matrices m, k and the vector f. F, of course, as we know, is the force vector, and this can be obtained by the assembly. So, F is obtained by the assembly of E going from 1 through number of elements of these FEs. So, these are the element level force vectors, and one can define actually F E A. So, this is the element of each of these force vectors, and they are going to be given as, I would have to integrate over each element domain, and there are going to be several terms. The first one, as you know, is going to be Na times F d omega. So, that is the standard because of the forcing, and then I am going to have a term because of the boundary condition. So, gamma H E Na times H d gamma, and I am going to get two more terms now because of the G type boundary condition, okay, and they are going to be given like this. So, minus B goes from 1 to NEN K A B E G B E plus M A B E times G dot B E. So, if you remember, these terms are going to be here because of the split that we made, that U is given as V plus G. So, the G terms appear here and you can work them out. Let us look at K. K, as we know, is the stiffness matrix. This we are very familiar with, and this is obtained by the assembly of element level stiffness matrices. So, these are going to be Ke. Of course, you know the size of Ke for the linear heat conduction, it is NEN by NEN. So, maybe I should write that down. So, Ke has these elements Kab, and this is NEN by NEN, and a typical Kab, you can work this out, would be given by an integral over omega E. This we have seen before, it is exactly as in the steady state linear heat conduction. So, this would be the term gradient of Na transpose times the conductivity K kappa and the gradient of Nb d omega. Okay. So, this is exactly what was seen in the steady state heat conduction problem. So, the stiffness matrix really does not change, except that we could have a situation where the material property is time dependent. So, it may very well happen that K is also time dependent. Okay. So, I have a material where the conductivity is changing with time. In fact, I could have a non-linear problem. Of course, we are dealing with a linear problem here, but I could have a situation where the conductivity itself depends on the temperature, and since the temperature is changing with time, so therefore, K also could change with time, but you know that discussion can wait for a while. Now, we come to the matrix M, the one which is brand new. So, M is often referred to as the mass matrix. The reason is that in structural mechanics, the time dependent term would come from the inertia term, and that is why the name has stuck on, the mass matrix. Sometimes in heat conduction people also call it as the conduction matrix, but that is not so common. Mass matrix is a more common term and we will stick with that. This of course can be obtained as an assembly of E going from 1 through NEL, and this would be the element level mass matrix ME. Okay. The element level mass matrix would have components MABE, and this of course would be NEN by NEN, and let me write down for you what would be MABE. So, this comes simply from the term W times rho C times V dot. So, let me recall for you in the Galerkin form. We had a term like rho, sorry, W times rho C and V dot. This was one of the terms. Okay. So, from 1 W you are going to get Na. Remember, we are going to write down W as Na times Ca, okay, and this V dot we are going to write down as Nb times Db dot, if you remember. Okay, the dot is being handled by the coefficient. So, it is easy to see that in the mass matrix I would get an Na times a rho c and an Nb and an integral over the element domain. So, that is what this would be. You can again check it yourself with more rigor. This would be Na times rho c Nb d omega. Okay. So, there you go. This is your matrix form Md dot plus Kd equal to F. So, it involves these two matrices, the mass matrix and the stiffness matrix. F is the force vector. The force vector is described over here, and this part, the first line, is exactly what you would see in the steady state heat conduction. There are these two additional terms which arise because of the boundary conditions, and in fact this additional term is because of the unsteadiness of the Dirichlet boundary condition. This part is there in the steady state equation as well. As far as the stiffness matrix is concerned, there is nothing new, it is exactly as before. The mass matrix is completely new, this is not there in the steady state equation, and I have written it over here. So, some remarks. So, we have a system of ODEs. In fact, these are first order ODEs, and I will have to solve in the steady state problem. I had to solve Kd equal to F, an equation, a system of algebraic equation. Now, I am left with a system of ODEs, and there are many ways to do that. Mind you, time is still continuous and space has been discretized. So, we are still dealing with a semi discrete form. So, the time dependence also has to be discretized, and that is how you would have to solve the ODEs. The second remark that I want to make is that that there are in Fe there are components due to unsteadiness in boundary condition. So, you could ask yourself that how does the solution change if I change my boundary conditions. So, that is essentially because of G and G dot, and where do they appear? They actually appear in the force vector. Okay. So, that is what is the solution will change through the force vector. The third remark that we would like to make is that as far as the boundary conditions are concerned, sorry, the initial conditions, they can be simplified. We had proposed that to specify the initial condition, we would write the weak form of the initial condition. So, we had something like W times rho c of u at t equal to 0 is equal to a certain right hand side, and that can be little bit cumbersome. Instead of that, we can actually give a direct boundary condition. So, so we could say, for example, that directly d at A is actually equal to u0 at xa for a boundary node. So, if I have a G type boundary node, I could actually give this boundary condition directly, sorry, the initial condition directly, and not go through the long process. Okay, so we would like to stop here, and perhaps in the next session we will take a one dimensional example. So, we will take the matrix form and then maybe choose a uniform mesh with some very simple boundary conditions and see how the time dependent term or the mass matrix term has made a difference compared to the steady state equations. Thank you very much.